Apple CEO Tim Cook apologizing for the company's iPhone warranty repair policies in China. We know Apple received criticism from the state-run media there over customer service, and Apple's going to be offering full replacements, we know, of older iPhones. What do you make of all this? I obviously follow you on Twitter. You had some fun tweets out earlier, so I have to ask you about those. But in general, what do you make about Apple's apology?
Well, I think Tim Cook obviously takes a different approach than Steve Jobs, and that gets a lot of people upset. They want him to be a carbon copy of Steve Jobs. He is who he is. He's not trying to be some strange version of himself. And I think what he's shown, not just with this issue in China, but he did it before with Apple Maps, is that an apology is an extremely effective PR tool. It's very disarming for the critics, and basically when he comes out with it, everybody shuts up, and we start to move on and look forward. So I think he decided that's the way to go here, and it's going to be very effective for Apple, just as it was for when they had the Maps issue.
Okay, so Eric, I have to read some of your tweets for people who don't follow you, but you're saying, I wish Jobs could come back for a day and rip the press for being idiots, and then for them to go back and write, wow, we were total idiots. Also waiting for Tim Cook to apologize to the world next week for not being born Steve Jobs, his most effective tool for getting the press to shut up, which is very much to your point about this kind of disarming PR, right? Because, I mean, there is only one Steve Jobs, and he's gone, and now Tim Cook just has to run this company.
Yeah, I find it silly sometimes, the criticisms that get lobbed at Tim Cook. Really, it doesn't matter what decision he seems to make, yet everybody thinks it's the wrong decision. They think it's the opposite decision to what Steve Jobs would have done. And Jobs had such a Svengali-like hold on the press, and not just the press, but a lot of investors and sell side and so forth, that he could, if he could come back for a day, I'm sure he would love to, and then just sort of point out how silly it all is. And I'm sure the blogosphere would fill up immediately with, oh yeah, that's completely right. We totally missed it, but this guy Cook is fantastic. I don't know why we never wrote this before, but Jobs said we should, so okay, we can go with it. So that's just the way it is. It's a sort of a thankless job following Steve Jobs, but I think Tim Cook over time will show his stripes.
As a shareholder, and Eric, we've talked about this a lot, the fact that since its September highs, obviously if you look at the chart, it's down and to the right. What do you make of that? Because this is one of your biggest positions.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprised me that it's fallen this far and sort of stayed down here for so long. We didn't hold it throughout. We enjoyed some of the run-up. We thought the run-up was a little bit kind of over enthusiastic last year, and so we did sell some on the way up. But basically now it's gone in the other direction, and I think why I like it now and why we loaded up recently is just that this is an out of favor stock. This is a dog, and so I'm quite happy to see that people continue to downgrade it even today. Because I think the worst is behind it. The company is going to surprise to the upside from here for the rest of the year with a lot of exciting new product announcements.
Okay, so in theory, you would be buying more at these levels.
Yeah, I think now's the time to buy. It's not the time to sell. Down here in the low 400s. I mean, after the big drop. I mean, you got to think counterintuitively, and I think this has just gone too far, and there's really nowhere to go but up from here.
All right, Eric, I know one of your other big positions is in Yahoo, and of course we've been focused on this company, again, because of its CEO, Marissa Mayer. How do you think she's doing? There was a little PR issue, speaking of PR issues, with telling people they couldn't work from home, people questioning the type of leadership, if it works well with the Silicon Valley mentality. What is your take?
I think all of that is really a sideshow to the real story here, and the real story is sort of the Wall Street waking up to the kind of the true sum of the parts value of Yahoo. And there's a core business story which Marissa heads up, to be sure, and I think one of the things to look forward to still for the rest of this year and into next is how she can show that she's stabilizing that core business in search and with display. And if she does do that, I think there will be some rewards for shareholders. But everybody's also waking up to the power of their remaining investment in Alibaba Group and the strong likelihood that that's going to IPO this year, and some sort of Facebook-like excitement that I think is going to build as that IPO gets closer and closer. And Yahoo Japan, everybody sort of forgets about it, but this thing has more than doubled in the last year, and Yahoo still owns 35% of it. So these things are starting to get reflected back in the stock price and some of the upgrades, and I don't think the story of their return is over, to be sure, even though it's risen more than 50% in the last 6 months.